aspirants, I welcome you all to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 20th of February 2025. Displayed here are the list of articles that we are going to discuss today. In this first article, we'll be discussing about how animals are using polarized moonlight to navigate. And in the second article, we'll be discussing about the Iron Age and the features of it. Third article, we'll be discussing about the administrative setup of Delhi. And in the fourth article, we'll be discussing about the proportionality test from the prelims perspective. So without any delay, let us get into the news article discussion. Now look at this article. As the title itself reads, this article talks about Rekha Gupta as Delhi's new CM. Very recently only Delhi's assembly poll has been completed, and that is why this has been in news today. So from the prelims perspective, knowing about the unique structure or the unique governance of Delhi is very important. Let's start with what is this GNCTD Act and Delhi Service Bill. See, when we talk about our national capital, Delhi, it works in a very unique structure or a hybrid model where it actually contains a legislative assembly which is actually elected by the people, and there is a lieutenant governor appointed by the central government. So it is a combination of two. It actually functions as a state as well as a union territory, but actually it is a union territory, remember that. So this governance structure was inserted by the 69th Constitution Amendment Act 1991. You don't have to remember this number, very easy. And this particular amendment inserted Article 239 AA. Remember this. And when we talk about the legislative assembly, they have only limited powers. Let us see why. Now, talking about the lieutenant governor, he or she is appointed by the president of our India, and they represent central government. And when we talk about the tenure, they work under the pleasure of the president, and they have special powers. For example, they have police, public order, and land under the control of lieutenant governor, and they can even override elected government when there is a discontent or when there is no proper consensus. So giving all these powers is actually the reason for frequent tussle between the lieutenant governor and the CM of the particular union territory. Now moving on, we shall see about Chief Minister and Council. When we talk about Chief Minister, he is elected by the Legislative Assembly, and the Council, they are responsible for the subjects that has been mentioned in under the Delhi government. And the CM, he actually advises the Lieutenant Governor, but when there is disagreement, Lieutenant Governor can take the matter to the President. And when we talk about Delhi Legislative Assembly, nearly 70 elected members are there, MLAs are there, and they make law on state and concurrent list except the police, land and public order. Remember this. Moving on, we shall see about the municipal corporation and local bodies. There is MCD, they take care of the civil issues like sanitation, road and water. Then comes the NDMC, they take care of the central administrative area when it comes to Delhi. And there is Delhi Cantonment Board. Cantonment Board is nothing but a military area where the military personnels be there. So this area, this Delhi Cantonment Board takes care of Delhi's cantonment area. So this is about the municipal corporation and local bodies. Now talking about the administrative power, here certain things has been mentioned which has been discussed already, so you can look at that. And finally, we shall see about the key difference between a full state versus a Delhi. See, the full state, they have CM. CM has the complete control, even the authority over law and order and even land. But when it comes to Delhi, the power is divided between CM and the Lieutenant Governor. And we have Supreme Court ruling. They say that the elected government should have the ultimate authority, but however, even after insisted by a lot of judgments by the Supreme Court, so central government, they are being the ultimate authority when it comes to decision making in Delhi's administration. So these are the facts that you have to remember. Now I have a prelims question for you. Let me read out the question. Consider the following statements regarding the administration of Delhi. Here 3 statements are given, and the correct answer for the particular question is option D, 1, 2, and 3. All the 3 statements given here are correct. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. This article talks about a key finding of particular study, they have found the second animal that can actually use the polarized moonlight to navigate. So here the article is actually talking about bull ants. So from the prelims perspective, let us revise about what are all the basics of bull ants, and then we shall see about how this finding is very significant. So here the botanical name of the bull ant has been mentioned. It is not very important. Now talking about their behavior, all these three are very important. When we talk about the behavior, they are solitary, foraging. Foraging is nothing but the searching of food. Solitary means they will be searching for food alone. And when we take about nativity, they belong to Australia, and activity, they are nocturnal, meaning they were active during the night, and they take rest during the daytime. So this is the basics about the particular species bull ant. Now we shall see how this polarized moonlight is actually a very significant finding. See, polarization, you have to understand the concept of this polarization. When we take light, we have three important wavelengths. The first thing is red, and then green, and then blue. So these three important wavelengths have the highest wavelength, and they will be oscillating in different directions. So what happens is the vision of a human being or any particular animal, it will be very blurred. So these oscillations can be made polarized by a polarizing filter. So we can take examples like the sunglasses and etc., or a polarizing glasses. There are specific glasses like that. So when a particular filter is placed in between, all these three different wavelengths will be unified and be made into a single wavelength, and it will be made into a single oscillation. So this oscillation help us to prevent the blurriness, and it will help us to see the vision thoroughly even when there is very high light. So this is what the polarization actually means. Now what animals are doing is, the first species is this dung first species is this dung beetle, and the second species is this bull ants. So these species, what they are doing is they are using from the light from the moon to navigate. So they are active during the night, and for their navigation they actually require sensory. So for that sensory, they are using the light, especially the polarized light from moon. So moonlight also, they are very dim, but when they arrive at our earth surface, it will be unpolarized, and later the sensory of these beetles will polarize the particular light, and they will be using it to identify the directions through which they have to go for searching of food. So this is how this particular discovery is very important. Now based on this finding, I have made a prelims question for you. Consider the following statements regarding the navigation of nocturnal bull ants. Here three statements are given. First statement says they use the position of the moon as their primary navigation cue at night. Second statement says they can detect and use polarized moonlight for orientation even during a crescent moon. Third statement says they are the only known insects to use polarized moon light for navigation. Here the third statement is too extreme, so you can obviously eliminate it, and the correct answer for the particular question is option A, 1 and 2 only. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. As the title itself reads, this article talks about ironage of our country. So the article asked a particular question: did the ironage on Indian soil start from Tamil Nadu? Now currently it is in news because of certain excavations that is currently happening in Tamil Nadu, and that is why this question has been raised. So from the prelims perspective, we have to learn about two important things. Firstly, the important sites when it comes to Tamil Nadu, which is very relevant to excavations, and the second important thing is you have to remember about the ironage. What are the features of it? So let us see them one by one in this article discussion. So let's start with the ironage of India. See, this period we call it specifically as ironage because iron has been used as a tool or weapon use. And when we talk about the significant advancement, after the discovery of iron only, there has been made a lot of significant changes when it comes to agriculture, warfare as well as urbanization. And following this only, the Chalcolithic period or the copper bronze period has been emerged. So here you can see the chronology. It actually dates back to 1200 BCE to 600 BCE, and the earliest known iron age when it comes to the world is Mesopotamia, Anatolia, Egypt, 3000 BCE, and when it comes to India, it is 4th millennium BCE of Mailadum Parai. Here I have mentioned certain key archaeological sites in India, especially from Tamil Nadu and the northern parts like Uttar Pradesh. Here you have to not only remember all the sites but also remember the map points. So in certain options like history and geography, there are map for which you have to mark the place and you have to give two important notes, and for that you can use this particular thing. So moving on, we shall see about the features of the Indian ironage in India. So the first important thing is advancement in technology. See, priorly we talked about, we have seen about the culture where people are primitive and they did not know much about agriculture. They were hunters and gatherers, and they will be moving plus from place to place. There are multiple reasons for that. For first thing is the seasons vary. Based on the seasons, the flowering and the fruits actually vary from different regions, and that is the reason why people were hunting and gathering. And the second important thing is that if people settle in one particular place, the resources are not replenished by the human efforts, it is replenished by the nature itself. And that is why before inventing or before going into the process of agriculture, staying in a one particular place leads to exploitation or over extraction of that particular resources, and that is why the people were actually moving, hunting and gathering. And when it comes to this particular iron discovery, what happened was they led to the creation of iron axes, and they led to the creation of iron plows, and it even led to building of horse uh, chariots. So these chariots were used for warfare, and even armors has been made, even helmets has been made. So all these technological advancement made only after the discovery of iron. So this is what the particular thing is very significant about. The second important thing is settlements. So when the people they came to, they are aware of all the applications of that particular metal, they understood how agriculture can be made and how agriculture can be made sustainable and profitable, and that led to urban settlements. For example, the Hastinapura and the Atranjangera and Kausambi. So those kinds of urban settlements has been made. And we have Megalithic culture where the burial sites especially seen in southern India. So this particular Iron Age period, they had Megalithic culture. Megalithic culture is nothing but burying a particular person either singly or combinedly, and above them there will be a very big stone. This here you can see the word, the etymology of the word itself is megalithic. So meha means big, lithic means stone. So there will be placing a very big stone, either a single stone or stones surrounding that burial site. So this is how the burial site actually looks like. So this kind of megalithic culture evolved during the Iron Age period. And the final important thing is, so when people settle and they do profitable business, it leads to surplus of agriculture, trade, and leading to urban settlements. So these are all very important features where a particular transition has been made in our history that you have to remember about. Now I have a preliminary question for you. Which ancient text refers to iron as Shankar IAS? So here the correct answer for the question is option C, Shatapatha Brahmana. So these kinds of questions are actually asked in our preliminary questions. So make a note of it. With these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this article. This article talks about a particular case from 1952. Here you can see that the state of Madras versus V.G. Rao. So this particular case led to evolution of a particular principle called proportionality. So we shall see about this case as well as what is the meaning of that particular value in this news article discussion. So let's start with what is the meaning of judicial review. So it is given to the it is a power given to the Supreme Court as well as the High Court. So it actually examines the constitutionality of a particular law, executive order, or a government action. So the main purpose of this judicial review is to bring in the checks and balances and not giving the ultimate authority or arbitrary rights to executives. So if it actually declares a law or action null and void if unconstitutional. So it will be completely striking out that particular provision if it is not at par with the constitutionality. So this is what we call about when it comes to judicial review. When we talk about the legal as well as the constitutional provisions, this Article 13 checks whether a particular law is against fundamental right or not, and if it is not against the law, then it's okay. If it is violating the fundamental rights or any other principles mentioned in our constitution, then it will be declared void. And we have Article 32 and Article 226. These are Supreme Court and High Court's writ petition for fundamental rights enforcement. Now moving on, talking about the proportionality test, see, it is actually a judicial principle. So it actually checks if a law or action is justified, reasonable and not excessive. So it ensures proper restriction on fundamental rights or narrowly tailored, meaning it is not arbitrary in nature and it is used in constitutional, administrative as well as human right cases. So this is what proportionality test is actually mean. Now moving on, we shall see about the 4 conditions on which the proportionality test will be actually identified. The first one is the ultimate or the legitimate aim. See, when whatever action it might be, any kind of action, I'm not talking about only the legal action but also the ethical actions. If the intention behind the action is right, then the particular thing is right. So this is what the legitimate aim also actually speaks about. So the restriction must serve the legitimate public purpose, meaning the intention should be good, and it should actually violate the national security or public order or health, then only such a restriction can be put on. For example, banning a particular terrorist organization is seen as a correct option for national protecting the national security. So here you can quote this example. Secondly, the particular law or action is suitable or not, meaning it should be effective in achieving that particular purpose. For a very good example is cutting down the internet when the riots are happening, whether it is effective or not. So if it is effective, then taking that step is very valid. If not, then it is not. Now the third important thing is the necessity. So here the necessity must be the least restrictive means, meaning it should avoid excessive restriction, and the content moderation versus a very good example for this, the content moderation versus social media ban. So here we can bring in internet shutdown, but the purpose of internet shutdown is to stop the misinformation, right? So you can regulate the content, that is what we call as content moderation. Instead of completely banning the social media, you can just regulate the content. This will prevent the misinformation. So this is what the necessity is actually talking about. You have to see whether the excessive action taking at that particular point is necessary or not. And the final important thing is balance. So here comes the proportional effect. Here the freedom of the individual as well as the freedom or the security of the nation should not be compromised at the any level. So this is what the final thing also says. So the benefit to the society should be the greater thing, and the harm to the individual rights should be the lesser thing. And a very good example for this is the free speech restriction versus suppression of dissent. So these are all important facts that you have to remember when it comes to proportionality test. In preliminary question, they might give you 4 different options explaining or describing the particular proportionality test. So you can remember that. Now moving on, I have a particular prelims question for you. Which of the following is not subjected to judicial review in India? The correct answer for the particular question is option D, political decision taken by the government. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, to comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.